Cornhuskers defeating the Hoosiers in a close game didn't happen. It was a close game. It was a high-scoring game, except the Hoosiers ended up making more. They ended up making more plays, more great plays than the Cornhuskers, which was the main reason why they were leading as much as 2 touchdowns in Nebraska. And the Cornhuskers had to come back, except they weren't able to. They were able to get the lead down to 38-31, except they weren't able to get stops when needed, which included the fact that Hoosiers kept making big plays and scoring mainly touchdowns, and it's tough to beat a pretty good team that isn't far away from being a great team, the Hoosiers, if the defense is not able to contain them from making a high amount of big plays, including scoring more touchdowns. Cornhuskers not able to score more touchdowns than the Hoosiers. So that's the main reason why they lost, because the Hoosiers kept making big plays for big gains and mainly scoring touchdowns. And Cornhuskers, when they were finally scoring needed touchdowns, it was because they got down as much as 2 touchdowns. Really hard to beat a pretty good team not far away from being a great team if you're not able to outscore. If you're not able to outscore them as far as touchdowns. So it was a disappointing loss, 41 by 7 points for the Cornhuskers, since they were in Nebraska, and this was a challenging except winnable game, except they just weren't able to contain the big plays, which was the main reason why they ended up losing. So that was disappointing. Still confident, optimistic they'll be able to win 6 games to get to a bowl game or higher. Still hugely disappointing, because like Colorado game, and just like the Colorado game, this was another one of those games where they just kept on giving up big plays and they weren't able to win a high-scoring close game for the Cornhuskers. And Tennessee Volunteers ended up beating the South Carolina Gamecocks 41-21. It's not the score that I predicted. I'm still extremely happy that it was better than what I predicted, because the Volunteers ended up making a statement against Muschamp. They never defeated him before in the past, which included when he was the head coach of the damn Gators. They made a huge statement on Saturday by easily winning 41-21. The game was made a joke, an embarrassment in the second half, after the game was a close competitive game for the entire first half. And I was extremely happy that the Volunteers ended up winning this game versus the same Gamecocks that ended up going into Georgia and defeating a great Bulldogs team in double overtime. So it was a great win by the Volunteers, including the special teams ended up blocking a punt and then recovered it in the end zone for a touchdown. Their offense was also scoring points. JG, I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm just going to say JG, his initials short for the Volunteers quarterback that started. He ended up having a great rebound game. This was after Alabama, where he had that fumble that was a dreadful mistake, and Alabama was able to return it for a touchdown. So it's great to see JG rebound versus the Gamecocks, because he played great, completing a high amount of his passes, including throwing long passes that were completed, and throwing multiple touchdowns. And it was a great team win for the Volunteers, because they played great on offense. They played great on defense, containing the Gamecocks since they didn't score any point. Gamecocks scored 21 points in the first half. They scored 0 points in the second half. They shut out the Gamecocks in the second half. And they also played great, obviously, on special teams, because of with that blocked punt and getting the field goals if they needed, scoring 2 field goals and long punts. So it was just a great team win, offense, defense, and special teams. So now Volunteers get their 3rd win, and I'm still holding off that they're climbing that wall and It's going to be interesting to see if the Volunteers can continue to climb the wall and get to 6 wins and get to a bowl game, because they had a miserable start, and the Varsity reveals character time to see if they can continue to climb the high wall and get to 6 wins and get to a bowl game, which would be a great feat because of how miserable it is for more than five games to start the season. Whereas looking like it was going to be a 2-10 season, a 1-11 season, 0-12, or a 3-9 season. It's going to be really interesting to see if the Vols can continue to climb the high wall now. With they got Vanderbilt left, they got Kentucky left, Missouri, Alabama, Birmingham, and all those are, expect Vanderbilt to be as usual. That should be a good close game. Winning in Kentucky is going to be climbing a wall game, because Kentucky didn't defeat Florida, except they took them a long distance. So I expect that to be a challenging, except that to be a coin flip game. Missouri, expect that to be climbing a high wall game, because Missouri has shown more than once that they do have an offense that can score a high amount of points. So if the Volunteers' defense doesn't play effective, that's going to be a long, miserable night or day or night. That's going to be a long, miserable Saturday in Columbia, Missouri. So it's going to be really interesting. The final 4 games for the Volunteers, if they can continue this momentum and show that it wasn't just some fool's gold, because I really want to see them win consistently and win 6 games or higher. Go Vols, Volunteers, and go Big Red Cornhuskers.